Hi YouTube, I thought I'd come today and do a little cartridge overview for you. I have a number of cartridges laid out on the table here, but the main focus of the video is going to be the 500 Smith and Wesson Magnum. Now this is a pretty large bore, heavy caliber cartridge. We're not really going to be talking about the revolver per se. This is the gun that fires the cartridge, but more so about the cartridge itself. The 500 Magnum are the two here in the middle, and the cartridges on the outside are just there for kind of size comparison purposes, so you can kind of see how large the cartridge is. Common cartridges, this is a 38 Special, semi-wad cutter. This is a 40 Smith and Wesson. This is a 44 Magnum, which used to be considered a pretty high caliber handgun cartridge, not so much anymore. This is the 223, which is the current military small arms cartridge, and this is an empty brass casing of a 243, which is a neck down 308. So as you can see, the 500 Smith and Wesson handgun cartridge compares, you know, there really is no comparison to the other cartridges on the table. As I said, the 44 Magnum was for many years kind of the do-all handgun cartridge as far as big game hunting and long-range target practice, but brute force-wise it has kind of been overshadowed by the 500. Now these are cartridges that I have hand-loaded myself. I don't even believe you can buy cartridges this large preloaded from a manufacturer. This one is a 525 grain semi-wad cutter, and this one is a 600 grain flat nose, and they're pretty punishing as far as recoil goes. This one I believe I was getting around 13 or 1350 feet per second out of this cartridge, and this one here I was getting around 1250 to 1300 feet per second. And in comparison, this is a 240 grain 44 Magnum cartridge, and on a good day you can get 1400 feet per second. So not much faster, over twice the weight. Nearly 3 times the weight. Now, I have the actual bullets that go into these cartridges, what they look like. For comparison, this here is a 440 grain bullet, hard cast lead, and this is a 440 grain hard cast lead hollow point. As you can see, there's quite a hollow cavity. If the camera's picking that up, it would make quite a mess out of whatever it encountered on its path. There's a bunch of different, this is kind of a sample pack I got from the gentleman that supplies me these bullets. This one here I believe was around 500 grain, no, that was a 600 grain lead here. This one here is a 400 grain, I believe it's called a Spire Point. So I'm not sure exactly what the practical application for this bullet would be, but it looks kind of cool, I guess. Haven't loaded any of those yet. But the one I really wanted to show you is the one that kind of impressed me the most. As far as I know, it's the largest bullet that you can buy for the 500 Magnum. This one here is a 700 grain load. So the actual projectile itself is 700 grains of lead, which means that it's 1/10 of a pound. Now the cylinder of the 500 Magnum holds 5 rounds, so when you have a cylinder full of 700 grain loads, you have literally a half a pound of lead in the cylinder at your disposal. So it's a pretty heavy cartridge. This is what the projectile itself looks like. It's, I believe, around 1.25 inches in length. And so it goes pretty far down in to the case, which lessens your powder capacity pretty significantly. I can get around 1100 feet per second out of my Smith and Wesson, which is the 6.5 inch version. Recoil is punishing. The most I've ever shot in a setting is probably around 30 or 40 rounds of this load here. These ones here also are punishing, and you could probably shoot 40 or 50 if you felt up to it. This one 30 or 40, and I've had enough. But for size comparisons, you can look at the 44 Magnum cartridge, and the cartridge itself is just slightly longer than the bullet for the 700 grain load. So as you can see, there is quite a lot of versatility in the 500 Magnum. I'll kind of clear this out so you can get a better look at just the cartridge. You can see the 223 round next to the 700 grain bullet. It's a pretty impressive piece of artillery. There's the 40 Smith and Wesson. So it is punishing. I find that it is more of a gigantic push as opposed to a lot of snappy recoil. A lot of times with a light grain load in a 44 Magnum, you'll get a lot of snap to it. But this is more of a heavy push, and I guess that's really all I have to say about it right now. I will be doing a review of the 500 Smith and Wesson at some point, but I just kind of wanted to show you a few of the cartridges that you can load. So until then, I will see you later.